So omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, they're meant to be in this 1-to-1 ratio in the body. But because of the way our Western diet is, the amount of omega-6 has far exceeded our omega-3s. So our omega-3s, they're typically extremely low in Westerners or Americans, especially in children who rarely eat oily fish. Welcome to the Soaring Child podcast, where parents of children with ADHD learn tips and tricks to help their child soar at home, at school, and in life. We feature interviews with experts, medical professionals, and parents just like you who are learning how to reduce ADHD symptoms using food and other natural strategies. Because children with ADHD deserve to soar just like every other child. I'm Dana Kay, your host. Hello, parents, and welcome back to another edition of the Soaring Child podcast. I'm your host, Dana Kay. I am your ADHD health practitioner and board certified health and nutrition practitioner. Now, this week on the podcast, we're continuing our series on supplements for ADHD. I hope you guys have tuned in to some of these episodes because these short practical episodes are really designed for you in mind, designed to fit into your busy life because let's face it, parents like us don't have time, do not have a lot of extra time. And so if you've missed earlier episodes, don't worry. We've got those links for you in the show notes below. We've got discussions on saffron. We've got discussions on GABA, as well as bioessentials and L-theanine. Now, check out the show notes. And yes, there are downloadable cheat sheets for each episode as well. So grab those. Now, they're your sort of quick reference guide to everything we're covering in each episode. Now, if you've ever wondered about omegas or fish oil for ADHD, then you're in the right place because that's what we're going to be talking about today. The pros, the cons of omegas and how they can support other natural strategies for kids with ADHD. So grab your cup of coffee or tea and let's dive into omegas. Okay, omegas, I have to say, are definitely one of the most highly recommended supplements for kids with ADHD. But are they really beneficial or are they just talk? So let's talk about that. Now, omega-3 deficiency it's a huge problem in the USA and most of the surrounding countries and Western countries. And that's because foods high in omega-3 fatty acids are the ones that are rarely consumed by most Westerners, particularly Americans, UK, Australians, especially our kiddos, okay? Now, our bodies can't make omega-3s and omega-6 fatty acids on their own. The actual only way to obtain them is through our diet or supplementation. So that's a really important thing to understand. So omega-3 fatty acids can be found in oily fish like salmon, trout, mackerel, tuna, or sardines. They can be found in nuts like almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts, and pecans. And they can also be found in seeds like chia, flax, pumpkin seeds. But as I mentioned, most Americans don't eat enough of these foods. And I don't know about your kids, but mine aren't super excited if I put mackerel or sardines on the dinner table. Are your kids the same? I think it's a pretty common thing, and even for a lot of us adults as well. I love most fish, but I'm not a big sardine person. Now, these are the foods that really pack an omega-3 punch. But to make matters worse, most Americans eat way too much omega-6 fatty acids, which are found in many of the plant-based oils that make their way into our packaged foods these days. So omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, they're meant to be in this 1-to-1 ratio in the body. But because of the way our Western diet is, the amount of omega-6 has far exceeded our omega-3s. So our omega-3s, they're typically extremely low in Westerners or Americans, especially in children who rarely eat oily fish. Now, there was a researcher at the University of Oxford in England called Paul Montgomery, and he gave school-aged children fish oil supplementation for 3 months to have a look at how this boosted their omega-3 intake. Now, at the end of the time, he found that those that were taking the supplements showed improved behavior, as well as improvements in reading and spelling. And he concluded that a lack of certain polyunsaturated fatty acids may contribute to dyslexia and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now, omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, they support brain function. They support mood, regulation, memory, focus, and organizational skills. They help reduce inflammation in the body, which is super critical for our kids with ADHD who often have elevated levels of inflammation, as I've talked about before on the podcast. Now, will supplementation be the be-all and end-all miracle cure for ADHD? No. You've probably heard me say it many times, but I'll say it again for those in the back of the room. You can't supplement your way out of a poor diet or a body that's riddled in inflammation. If you continue to pound your body with these highly inflammatory foods or substances, you will not get to where you want to go, no matter how many supplements you take. But supplementation, when paired with dietary changes and other natural strategies like prioritizing sleep and exercise, optimizing detoxification, and really getting to those underlying issues in the body through functional lab testing, it can support the body and it can help our kids with ADHD thrive. So you might be wondering, what are the dietary recommendations that I usually recommend? If you've been listening to this podcast for very long, you probably already know the answer to this question. But if you're new here, I just want to provide a very brief overview. I will add links in the show notes to a few additional episodes about the ADHD diet so you can get a more in-depth view. But first of all, we like to remove out the top inflammatory foods, gluten, dairy, and soy, as well as excessive amounts of refined sugar, artificial flavors and colors. So the first step in any journey is to remove the foods that cause inflammation in the body, because these are the biggest culprits, and we can just start to reduce that toxic load on the body. These highly inflammatory substances can really lead to an immune response. It can also lead to intestinal permeability, which is also known as leaky gut. And kids with ADHD are more likely to have compromised immune systems, leaky gut, breakdowns in the gut. So the effects of these substances tend to have a bigger effect on the whole body. Then, once we've done that, we want to replace them with a diet rich in micronutrients. So eating a diet, fresh fruits, veggies, gluten-free whole grains, grass-fed animal protein like meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, plenty of healthy fats like avocado, coconut, and olive oils. And where possible, just try to reduce the amount of processed and packaged goods, replacing them with whole and fresh produce. Now, that's a very general overview that I take when I recommend a diet for ADHD, but definitely take a look at those show notes for additional links where I can give you different episodes where we really dive into the specifics of those dietary changes. I will say, Rome wasn't built in a day, so if you're new to hearing those changes, just remember you don't need to do everything in day one, okay? Let's take it slow, one step at a time. Now, let's go back to omegas, okay? So once you improve the diet, is there a benefit to taking omega supplementation? I definitely think there is, especially if your diet is low in those omega-3 foods, like I mentioned earlier, those fish, nuts, and seeds. Supplementation with high-quality omega, especially when paired with those dietary changes and other natural strategies, can support the body and the gut and the brain, and they can help our kiddos with ADHD thrive. Now, as you might already know, not all supplements are created equal. Some brands contain fillers or have poor quality control standards, and so I'll add the link to my favorite omega supplement in the show notes. One thing I especially love about this particular supplement is that it comes in both liquid and in capsule form. And it gives the parents options of using a liquid form if their kids can't yet swallow pills, and also provides a different form for those that can. So really, to summarize what I've talked about today, having a proper fatty acid ratio supports brain function, memory, clear thinking, mood, organizational skills, all things that children with ADHD can benefit from. So, though omega supplementation won't be the be all and end all, fix it all solution for you, it can definitely be a great support for kiddos with ADHD. Check out the show notes for the link to our favorite omega supplement, as well as that omega cheat sheet that we've put together for you. And this cheat sheet will give you a glance overview of omegas for ADHD, as well as usage tips and ways to get it naturally. Listeners, as always, I'm Dana Kate, your ADHD health practitioner. Keep on thriving. Thank you for listening to the Soaring Child podcast today. To learn more about how to help your child with ADHD soar using natural strategies, visit our website at adhdthriveinstitute.com and follow us on social media at ADHD Thrive Institute.